Hey, this is the Budman, and you're listening to Central Florida Real Estate Radio on News Radio WFLA Orlando. Now to our studio and your host, local real estate expert and my friend, Laura Peterson.
Hello, everyone. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So I was just looking at it, and we've actually been on the air on Sunday mornings on WFLA for about 8 years, coming up on 8 years here in December. And so that's pretty awesome. And then we're actually testing right now and seeing if people want to listen to us and everything also on Monday evenings. And that's at 6 o'clock. So we'll be on Sundays at 8 o'clock and Mondays at 6 o'clock. And I don't know if we're going to do that forever, but we're going to be trying it and seeing if that's something that people like or want or whatever. And I just appreciate all of the listeners out there that have been listening to us for years on Sunday morning. And now you have an opportunity to hear us at 6 o'clock on Monday night as well. So that's all good. But I always get started with going over what the stats are and what's going on in the market. And so we're just looking at a week. So it's not necessarily, like this is the number and everything and what's going on. But we kind of look at it as what's going on in the week and comparing, kind of overall. And this week is not a whole lot different. The sales of single family homes are sitting at 391, up from 354 the week before. And the median price of a single family home in the Central Florida market is $438,000. So when we're looking at these numbers, and that's up a little bit from last week, which I think was about right around 420 or something thereabouts. But basically, when we're looking at these numbers, we're looking at Orange, Osceola, Seminole, and Lake counties. So those are the four counties that are included in here. So Central Florida, in my opinion, is a few more counties than that, like Volusia and Polk and that kind of stuff. But basically, this gives us an idea in regards to what's going on in the market. So again, the median price is at $438,000, and there were 391 that sold last week. And, a lot of people are looking for foreclosures, which there are only 2 of them last week out of that 391. Now, that's not to say that there aren't distressed properties out there and properties that people don't want to fix up that you can get a deal on, because there are. But basically, this is what we're talking about, that are officially foreclosed on and everything. And the reason for that is because there is so much equity that for most people that has been built on their homes over the last few years, unless you bought it in the last 18 months where the prices have stayed pretty static. Most people have equity in their homes that they didn't know that they have. So even if they get in trouble with their mortgage, they're able to go ahead and sell that at a regular sale and put some money in their pocket instead of being foreclosed on. So the thing that I always like to tell people is that there are options. And so I would rather that you talk to me, even if we can't do anything together. There's no obligation, but basically an opportunity for us to sit down and look at what's going to be the best situation for you and your family and everything, and the way for you to come out of it the best financially. So of those 391 homes, 29 of them were under 250,000, 25 between 250 and 300. Between 300 and 400, there were 106. Between 400 and 500, there were 90. 500 and a million, there were 110. And then over a million, there were 31 properties that sold. Now, when we're looking at the list to ask pricing overall, it's at 96.9%. Under 250, because those homes usually need work. They were at 90.79, but then we're at like about 98% all the way up through a million. And, they're at like 97 such and such and 98.54. So they're kind of in that range. And then over a million, they were at 94.9. So basically, if you're in that lower price range or that higher price range, you may get a little bit more that you can negotiate on that. When we're looking at a months of inventory, our overall months of inventory between 4 and 6 months is considered a normal market, and we're still in a seller's market based on our months of inventory. Overall, it's at 3.19, and then it's in the 2 months of inventory up to 500,000. 500,000 to a million is at 4.29, and 4.3 over a million. So they're just hovering at that normal market, amount of inventory in those price points. So very interesting in regards to, what we're looking at and all of that kind of good stuff. So if you're just joining us, you're listening to News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm your host, Laura Peterson, your home sold guaranteed realty. This is Central Florida Real Estate Radio with you every Sunday at 8 a.m. and Monday at 6 p.m. If you want to reach us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So the other thing that we always look at then is the condos, townhomes, and villas. So there were 146 of those that sold last week, and it was 152 the week before. Pretty consistent. And the median price of them was at $265,000. So a condo, townhome, or villa, the median price is $265,000 versus $438,000 for a single family home. So that they're obviously a little bit more affordable, but you do have more monthly fees, but you don't have the maintenance and those kinds of things as well when it comes into that. When you're looking at the inventory, basically when we're looking at the condos, townhomes, and villas, we are looking at 3.51 months of inventory, and basically the only category that's in the twos is under 250,000, and then we're at in the threes up to 300,000. Then we're at 4 between 300 to 400, 3.8, 400 to 500, and then you're at 500 to a million, and 3.23 over a million. Now, the number of houses of properties that sold, of that 146, 59 of them are under 250, 21 between 250 and 3, 34 between 300 and 400, 20 between 400 and 500, 11 between 400 and 500, and one of them over a million. So there's not a lot of them in those high price points, but they do exist. Their list to ask ratio is at 97.24. So again, very healthy. The under 250 though, they were at 96.41, which if you remember, the single family homes were at about 90. And the one over a million sold at 94.9. And so that's kind of, what the scoop is. So it kind of gives you an idea that our market is very stable. And I always like that we're stable. I mean, that kind of makes sure that we're not going to have any problems when it comes to appraisals or something like that. That when we're looking at that at this time in the market, it's a healthy market, that we do have properties moving consistently, and we do have, our prices are pretty consistent too. I mean, they do vary week to week. We're just looking at a week at a time, obviously. And when you hear the numbers that are usually reported in the other parts of the media, they're putting the condos and townhouses and the houses all together. So what I think is better is that we split them up. And actually, when it comes to your particular property, if it's a single family home or a condo or whatever, you even go further of going into your specific subdivision for the most part, or zip code or school zone or something like that, because real estate is so local. And so you can't look at it like, the big picture and everything. I mean, we do know that our area is very consistent, and we're very thankful for that at this point in time. And I have so many people telling me, oh, the prices are going to go down and everything like that. But they continue to not go down. They continue to stay very consistent. So that's very good for those of you that are considering making a move or thinking about it. And usually when people are making a move, it's because of some kind of life change that's going on. Maybe you're having a baby or the kids are moving out or something like that. But usually it's something like that that's happening today because a lot of people are locked in at great interest rates and everything on their houses. And the interest rates are something we're going to be talking about today. They have come down a little bit, believe it or not, but not to where they were several years ago. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. Find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and I'll see you after the break.
You're listening to Central Florida Real Estate Radio with local expert and my friend Laura Peterson. And now, here's Laura.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So, as I mentioned in the last segment, we are have been on about 8 years on Sunday mornings on WFLA at 8 o'clock, and we're testing now also being on Monday at 6 o'clock at night. So if you're new listening to us, then we just wanted to say welcome, and we're in this new time slot, so I just wanted to let everybody know a little bit of what's going on and all of that kind of good stuff. So I was mentioning, in the last segment, a little bit about mortgages. And I know that a lot of people say a lot of times that they want to wait for the rates to go down or the prices to go down or something like that. And the question that you really have to ask yourself is, where do you want to be a year from now? Regardless, if everything was the same, would you want to be where you are now, or would you want to be somewhere else? I was talking to a lady earlier this week, and she was telling me that she actually is renting right now, and she has a fairly large family and everything. She's a veteran, and this is Veterans Day weekend, so I wanted to say, thank you to all the vets and all of that kind of good stuff for serving us, which she has very well. But she's in a rental that's $4,900 a month, which is pretty high, obviously, and all of that, and she can totally afford it and all of that, which is great. But she's saying, hey, I really would rather put that money into a house. And so having it so that she's not paying that high rent bill anymore, and that she's building equity and all of those kinds of things. And so the thing that always gets in the way is sometimes when you're looking at it and you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's like, how much can I afford and what can I do? And the interest rates are so high, and the list goes on and on and on of reasons why people kind of stop themselves and may not do it. So last week there was a big article out, and it said, oh, the interest rates are down for the first time in like 3 years and stuff. And, interest rates change almost hourly. So it's kind of funny that came out, because it does go up and down, and all of that. But I guess for the week, it was down a little bit overall, and so they were, kind of talking about it. But one of the things that always, when the interest rates go up and the prices aren't going down, there's always some kind of opportunity out there for people to do things and to figure out, how to make it work. And because basically it comes down to that, right? That in life, when things are going not the way that we think that they should or whatever, we run into a roadblock, then we have the opportunity to either stop or figure out, how to make it work besides the obstacle, or in spite of the obstacle, I guess is what I really want to say. So in mortgages, there are some things that can be done even with the high interest rate. And one of those things that can be done is a temporary buy down, that you can buy down the interest rate, and you can buy it down for several years. So maybe you could buy it, it's like I've seen them where you could buy it down to 5.99. There's a few things where you can buy it down to 4.99. And so if the interest rates are hovering in the 7.5, then that's a nice interest rate, right? And so people can really, get their head around that. And I was working with a builder a couple of weeks ago, and they had some houses out there, some of them at 4.99 and some of them at 5.99. And the 5.99 house was actually a little bit lower than the house they were offering at 4.99, like say $10,000. It wasn't a whole lot, but it was lower. And I said, well, based on what these people have told me, is that they may want to go with that, lower priced one. She said, yeah, but would you understand, do you understand that 1% change in interest rate, and it was about a $300,000 house, it was going to be an FHA mortgage, so putting about 3.5% down, that the change in that payment between 4.99 and 5.99 was $200 a month. So when you're talking of an interest rate between that might be, 3% that were several years ago now, like probably 2 or 3 years ago now, to the 7, say 2 to 7, that's 5 points or 5% or whatever, and so that basically is $1,000 more if you take that same math on a $300,000 house that you're going to be paying this year that you wouldn't have been paying a couple of years ago. And so that's where the affordability has been tough for a lot of people. And so the solution may be to actually buy down that interest rate and how that all works. But if you're just joining us, you're listening to News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm your host, Laura Peterson, your home sold guaranteed realty. This is Central Florida Real Estate Radio with you every Sunday at 8 a.m. and Monday at 6 p.m. If you want to reach us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So basically, there's mortgage buy downs and how they work. So basically, there's such a thing called a 3-2-1 mortgage buy down. And what that means is that basically that it can incentivize potential home buyers to buy a home that in high interest rate markets. So basically, this type of mortgage reduces the loan interest for the first 3 years of the loan term. The initial rate will then be applied in the 4th year and continue the life of the mortgage. So that's what they call a 3-2-1 mortgage buy down. In the first year, a loan is reduced by 3%, by 2% in the second year, and then 1% in the third year. For example, if a home buyer bought a home at 7.76% mortgage rate in the first year, then the rate would be 4.76 the first year, 5.76 the second year, and 6.76 the third year. So obviously you have to qualify for that, and when you do qualify at that rate, you have to actually qualify today at the rate that it would be at the highest, because they want to make sure that you're not going to lose your home, obviously, but it gives you some wiggle room, and then it also gives you the opportunity to refinance. Now, there are permanent buy downs, and when I was talking about those new builders, that's what they were doing, is that they were actually permanently buying down that rate. So if the rate is at 7.76, as it says in this article, then the interest rate at 4.99 obviously is almost 3% down for the life of the loan. So for the whole 30 years. So that that basically is something that I think is something for people to consider. And when I'm working with sellers, that's something that we look into to see how we can offer that to the buyer. And the reason for that is because then obviously that makes it more attractive to that person who's getting financing. If they're paying cash, then we'll give them a discount just like the builder does. But basically, when it comes down to it, you want to be looking at what's going to work, for those people to make that house more affordable, that your house stands out above everybody else. And in today's market, dealing with these mortgages is something that can absolutely make a big difference as well. The other thing that we have in our pocket that we work with all the time is, some of these programs that are down payment assistance, and they kind of go in and out and everything in regards to money and what's available and everything. The Hometown Heroes, as I mentioned last week, is back, and it got $36 million more of funding, and that will give people up to $35,000 for full-time Florida workers who earn less than 150% of their area's median income if you're in that Hometown Hero classification, which there's a whole lot of people that are. So I guess that my point is that there are a lot of options out there for you. And I'm going to go into this down payment assistance a little bit more in the next segment. But it comes down to, again, that, having the right people working with you is so critical to make sure that you get the best deal and that you also get 100% of what you're looking for, asking for, and the best deal for you that's not going to put you in a pickle sometime in the future. And so, you don't want to be overpaying rent and you don't want to be overpaying, your payments for a house. But I'm here to tell you that there's definitely options for you, and we're here to help you navigate through them. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com.
You're listening to Central Florida Real Estate Radio with local expert and my friend Laura Peterson. And now, here's Laura.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So one of the things that I was talking a little bit about last segment and said I was going to follow up this one was in regards to down payment assistance programs. And I think that, this is something that people have to qualify for and everything, obviously. But if you can qualify for it, it really is a great program. And so basically, they can aid with down payment and closing costs ranging from 3.5% up to $50,000 towards the purchase price. So this type of assistance is a loan, but it's forgivable, which means the home buyer won't have to pay it back unless you decide to sell, you move, you rent out the property, or you refinance the home before 10 years of ownership. So if you're going to live in it for the next 10 years, then this loan is forgiven. And like I said, it's from 3.5% up to $50,000. So it's actually, really a good thing. And again, it's something that helps make houses affordable, right? So there's some things that you need to qualify. Most of the time you have to have at least a 580 to a 620 credit score, and the better your credit score, the better off that you are. Your debt to income ratio, which means your car payment, all of your minimum payments and all your credit cards and all of those kinds of things have to, including your housing, have to be between no more than 47 to 55%, depending on the city or county ratio requirements, and it's calculated based on monthly income versus debt monthly. And then it has to be your primary residence. No investment properties. You have to live there, like I said, for 10 years. And then you have to meet the median area household income. So, and then you have to be approved eligible through the automatic underwriting system for most of these programs. And then you have to complete a HUD-approved homebuyer and educational course. So this usually costs from $0 to $100, depending on the county and or city. It can be taken online or in person and at your pace or whatever you want to do on that. But basically, when it comes down to it, these are great products. And so if you can pay $100 to get $50,000, that could be forgivable, then that's awesome. And usually most of them are prorated. So say you decide to sell it in 5 years instead of waiting the 10, then 50% of it would be forgiven. All of the programs are different, but basically, that's what it comes down to. So that Hometown Heroes is kind of a similar, type of program and that kind of thing that exists. So basically, it's a great program for the person that's getting started for your own home that you want to move into and everything. So if you do have interest in that, then, please let us know and we can get you in touch with the right people to make that happen. And then the other thing, the last thing on the mortgage news that I've got here is there is a no down payment FHA loan. Now, an FHA loan is a loan that's insured by the government. And so they're, They're 3.5% down is the minimum amount. They do have some additional fees that go along with the loan, which if you're not putting 20% down on a property, then there is usually what they call mortgage insurance or PMI, depending on the type of loan that you have. And they call it a funding fee in a VA loan. So it exists on a lot of the loans. And depending on what your credit score is and depending on a lot of factors determines how much it is. But when you run the numbers, generally in this area, it's cheaper to still buy a house than it is to rent because of all of those things. So basically, there's a program out here now that with 600 minimum credit score and no geographic restrictions, that you can have an FHA loan for with no money down. And so you have to have at least a 600 credit score. Like I said, you must be buying a primary home using a 30-year fixed rate FHA loan. And the down payment assistance on this is up to 3.5%. So this is another thing that I guess it's a down payment assistance thing. Each borrower on the loan must have the minimum of 1 credit score. So I know a lot of times when people are new to the area or you're young, you don't have credit scores yet, then this is something that everybody has to have at least 1 credit score. And at least one borrower must take a home buyer education course. The borrower doesn't have to be a first-time home buyer, so that's interesting. You don't have to do that. Down payment assistance will come in the form of a second 10-year loan with a note rate of 2% greater than the rate of the FHA loan. And the property doesn't have to be located in a specific geographic area. So the difference between this and the down payment assistance that I was telling you is that this one may not be forgivable. You might have to pay it back when you finish paying off your original loan, or you might have to pay it off, when you sell or rent it out again or something like that. So it basically comes down to really looking at all of the options out there, in my opinion, and then making the best decision for you. And so that takes you not searching online for a loan product, but actually hooking yourself up with somebody that can go through all of these programs and that kind of stuff with you. And we have those people that we can put you in touch with if that's something that you want to do. So if you're just joining us, you're listening to News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm your host, Laura Peterson, your home sold guaranteed realty. This is Central Florida Real Estate Radio with you every Sunday at 8 a.m. and Monday at 6 p.m. If you want to reach us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So this is a question that sometimes sellers ask, not always, but sometimes they do, is that a seller says, can we get out of the deal to sell our home once we're under contract with another buyer? And it isn't always a simple answer. A contract may offer advice, but buyers can sue for specific performance, and it's not just the house. If it's under contract, then the agents that we're going to get the commissions and that kind of thing on that property, they may also get compensation and that kind of stuff. So basically it comes down to, how bad you want to get out of it and what happens on there. I mean, there are times when, things happen that you go, gosh, I really, you change your mind. I mean, it is emotional roller coaster sometimes when it comes to selling your home because it's a place that you lived. It might be where you raised your children, or, maybe you live there with your parents or something like that. I was talking with a couple the other day that they were looking at selling the family home that had been in the family for over 100 years. So yes, the house was like 110 years old, but it had been in the family for 100 years. So with that came a lot of memories, came a lot of things that were going on, and the gentleman had grown up there, and he said, I remember living here with my grandparents, then my parents, and then we raised our kids here and stuff like that. So, they had kind of detached themselves, the husband and wife, from it because they had decided to move on, but their kids were having a hard time with them selling the house because, it was where they remembered all the holidays and all of those kinds of things. So there's a lot of things that come to play, when you're selling a house, and sometimes you you're second guessing yourself in regards to what you can do. So I think that it really comes down to really looking at it. And as a buyer, when you're going to purchase a house, there's a couple things that you can do on the contract that we always do to give you, make it harder for that seller to get out. Because if it's a house that you really want, the last thing you want is them to get out of it, right? And so there's a couple things that you can do on the contract that, you can ensure that it's going to be a little bit tougher for that seller to get out once they agree. And so we definitely, do those things to make sure that it makes it so that you're going to be the one that actually ends up with that house and the seller doesn't back out of it at the last minute, because that can be disheartening for a lot of people. So basically, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're making the right decision and everything at the get-go, because that's going to be your best way of doing it. But in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break.
You're listening to Central Florida Real Estate Radio with local expert and my friend Laura Peterson. And now, here's Laura.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So I just wanted to go over a couple of things here that I thought were very interesting that I ran into. And basically, we've had our own experience about a year ago with this, that it's called Title Pirates Wreak Havoc on Closings. And basically, there is fraud going on out there. The easiest target is vacant land, because somebody can come in there and say that they own the property and, sell it and all of that kind of stuff. And we did have real life experience with someone that was selling a piece of land that did not belong to them. And it ended up being quite the mess and quite the interesting deal, but it all got straightened out in the end. But basically what these people do is that they go in and they, identity theft the person, and they get driver's licenses. They had a bank account with that person's name on it and all of those kinds of things in order to really make it seem real. So every place that you turn along the way, it actually looks like it is extremely real. And you can't tell the difference because, the person says that they're the name that's on the title, and then they have a valid driver's license that is that person's name with that address on it. And so it makes it really difficult, in order to, catch these people and all of that kind of stuff. And so it's pretty common and everything right now when it comes to vacant land. And, it's vacant parcels of land are the favorite to get that done because they're not occupied and they're not usually closely monitored by their actual owner. And I found as well that it's a lot of them that the owner lives out of town, because obviously that's easier too, because they're definitely not looking at it, all the time. And in the case of vacant properties, once a title pirate records documents, to say that they have an interest in it, then the next step is usually to attempt to borrow money against the property from the third-party lenders. So that's something that they can do, but we actually had it that they just tried to outright sell it. And there were a lot of law enforcement that was involved in it to actually come to fruition on all of this kind of stuff. I mean, I know that the FBI was involved, the bank examiners obviously were involved, and that kind of stuff. And so the sheriffs were involved in that, and I don't know exactly how it ever ended up. I know I had to submit all my paperwork, but they didn't call me and give me an update on the case to see what actually happened to it. But basically, I know that it was a lot of things that go on with this that obviously make it look real. And so you're doing everything that you can to make sure that you're working with the real people that do own the land. And there's a lot of people involved, title companies, title insurance, and all those kinds of things to make sure that kind of stuff doesn't happen. And I know you see the ads on TV, and all of that to protect your property and make sure that they're not going to steal your house. And basically, if you do find that you are a victim of this, that law enforcement is somebody that you would definitely want to reach out to, and then contact a lawyer to make sure that you can get everything, situated and that kind of thing as well. But basically, there's a lot of stuff that goes on out there, and that's where, we have a lot of safeguards and a lot of things that we look at, and just like identity theft for everybody out there, it's obviously something that can happen, but you always hope that it doesn't happen. But it's something that, we're always paying attention to see and make sure that we're dealing with the real people. And obviously, if you're at the house, you live in the house, that's your name, you've got your IDs and all of that, then that makes a huge difference that we know it's the real people. But sometimes for an out-of-town seller that wants to sell something, if they're contacting you, you've just got to go through all those extra steps today to make sure that they're telling you the truth. And it's not that you don't want to trust everybody, but unfortunately, everybody's not trustable at this point in time, so you've got to make sure that you're doing that. But I found that interesting that they're calling title pirates that are out there now that are actually raising quite the havoc out there. But if you're just joining us, you're listening to News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm your host, Laura Peterson, your home sold guaranteed realty. This is Central Florida Real Estate Radio with you every Sunday at 8 a.m. and now Mondays at 6 p.m. If you want to reach us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So like I said, we have been on WFLA on Sunday mornings at 8 o'clock for about 8 years now. And then we are just starting. This is our first week, Mondays at 6. And we're going to see if we're going to stick with it or not, or if it's something that people enjoy and like. But that's, kind of where we're at right now. We've been around Central Florida, obviously, for quite a while. I actually have been a realtor since 2005 and have owned the company since 2008. And so basically, we've been around quite a while and work with all of you in all of the counties of Central Florida, and very happy to do so. So it's really great. But I'm to the point in the show where I'm going to talk about our house of the week. And this house is actually in Stony Brook East. And so it's on the east side of town, kind of off of, that Curry Ford, Avalon Park area and everything. And this house is actually a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath, or 2.5 bath, excuse me. It's a 2-story home. It's basically has a 2-car garage, and basically this gated golf community is really nice, as all of the Stony Brooks are. This particular property is listed at $548,000. It was built in 2001, and the master bedroom is on the second floor. It is 23 by 16, so a very generous size. This whole home is 2368 square feet, so almost 2,400 square feet. And, square footage can be deceptive because sometimes a smaller house might seem like it's bigger, but this one with this size of room, the master bedroom being 23 by 16 and the second bedroom is 14 by 12. The living room is 23 by 16. So this one has a lot of room and everything for you. So it's a great property that's out there just waiting for a new owner is basically, what's going on with this house. So if you have any interest in it, then please give us a call and we'll get you all the information on it, and you can have a private viewing. And there's never any obligation, if you want to call. So if you have any kind of real estate question, we're more than happy to point you in the right direction or find the answer for you. And there's no obligation to do that. I mean, we just enjoy working with people, and that's why we do the show, and that's why I do what I do. You know, solving people's problems is really what it comes down to, and making a difference and an impact in everything with people. I was meeting with a lady last week, and she's looking to move to another area of Florida. And, you know, I really was reconvicted that this is really why we do what we do, because she has lived in her property for about 30 years and doesn't really know the steps of what she needs to do to go to that next step in finding the place, and doesn't want to end up homeless and all of those kinds of things, and trying to figure out exactly where she's going to go. And so it really, you know, makes a big difference in making sure that we're not just selling houses, we're changing people's lives for the better and helping them out of situations that they're in that they might not want to be in anymore, or going to that next level. So that's what we're all about. And, we just like to meet more and more of you that hear us on the radio and everything at every point in time. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you next week. Have a great one, everybody. Bye-bye.